Tuesday, May 14th. What I'm going to show today is I'm going to zero in on the gray line on the Astro Excel tool. This is the fast moving Astro line. We're going to take a look at this. I'm going to use the 2-hour window on the Astro Excel sheet, which you can see on the left side of the screen there. I'm setting this up in 3 2-hour segments. I'm using the April 10th date. And what I'm doing, I'm looking at the period here from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And on my TradeStation chart here, I've got the vertical line at 9. Then I have one at 11. So that's the first 2-hour window. Then I've got 11 to 1. That's the second 2-hour window. And then I've got from 1 to 3 p.m. or 1300 to 1500. And that is my third 2-hour window. So what we're going to do is take a look at using the gray line to identify potential pivots in these 2-hour windows. You can also see this in Ninja on your Astro Excel chart. If you set it to the lower frame, you can show the gray line accordingly, and you'll get the same view as what you're getting here off of the Astro Excel sheet. So we've got our usual amount of volatility around the open. So we've got this potential for a low around 920. 920 is right here. It is just a very minor low inside this consolidation. Then it's bouncing up. We're expecting some sort of high. We've got a big rounding top area here though, so 930 to like 934. We get this little bump up right at 932, and all we get is that big 1 bar down on that 32 time, and that's right here where we're expecting kind of a high area. We get a little low in that little bump there, and what happens, we get an inversion at this point because we're expecting to get the push down to 952 area right here, where we actually have a low on the gray line at 952, but we get the high at 952 instead. So you can see what's going to happen after you take out the high of that red bar there. You know you're going to get an inversion, and you can expect that upward move to continue until that next break point. So we kind of want to just look at the major points and to see if we're either going to follow that trend or if we're going to invert. So we make the high here where we had a low on the gray line. The next important point is right here at 1016. And at 1016, we are right here about halfway through the trend. And all we get is a little bit of a bounce up. So what you can do is use this bar where you expect these pivots. If they don't happen, you can look for a breakout point above the high or low of the bar, and then look for that to go to the next time frame. The next move is expected about 1027, and we do get that low right there at 1032. So we're right there at about 1027. We get the bottom at 1032. Now we're expecting an up move. And that up move should go until about 1035. So that up move goes actually up to 1048. At 1035, we get a very minor 1 bar high here, and then it kicks back down before continuing the move up. So we do get a very minor pivot, making this little double bottom that takes place over 3 bars. And then at this low here at 1048 actually is this high here within a few minutes of this high. That's the 1048 bars, the first red bar. So that gets us into the end of that frame. Now we've got to look at the next 2-hour segment. But you can see the pivots are going to come on these points. Just not sure about the polarity. But the Astro energy is changing because what we're doing, we're going from a positive energy to this peak to a negative energy, or a polarity flip. So a high on the gray line is going to either be a high or a low on the other. If it trades through, you can look at that as it's going to continue to the next important point. Let's move to the next frame between 11 and 1. So all you got to do here is go to your pull down tab, and we're going to take that to 11 o'clock. So we just click on 11 right there, and it's going to give us the next point. So we're going to get a high here at about 11:11, and that should go down to about 11:29. So as we change through that window, we're getting into a consolidation area. There is the got this little high at 11:08. The low is at 11:12. So we've got that very minor high in that 11:11 area, and then the next pivot here at 11:29. We were looking for a low. We actually get a high there at 11:32, and then we finally break away from that consolidation and get a push down. So at the point where we expected the low, we got a high, so then we're pushing to 11:36. Looking at 11:36, we've got that is right there at that high, pushing down into 48. You see the 48 area here. We've got this big kind of sawtooth bottom. So we're bouncing around here between 42 and 48 is our bottom window, and our low comes in at 48 at the second bottom on the gray line. Sometimes these pivots are tight, like at the 11:30 to 36, and especially when it's in a consolidation. It's a little tricky because here I'm looking at 4 minutes, so the 11:26:28 is right there, and then we've got this high right there, right in the middle of that on the 11:32 bar before we pushed down. So that one's a little tricky. The more extreme points tend to be a little bit better rather than these shorter moves that are centered around the 0 line. So now we're coming off the 11:48 bottom here, which is right there. Now we're looking to move up to 11:56, and the 11:56 is 1 bar off the high bar, which was actually at noon. So there's the 12 o'clock high. So we're just right behind that, 1 bar off of that area there, and then we're looking for that downward action to 12:07. 12:07 is there. We've got the low at the 12:08 bar, which you can see right there. So we've got those 3 pivots lined up pretty well from low, high, low. We've got low, high, low there at 12:08, where we were expecting that at 12:07. Now you got to be careful on these short in-between moves. You really want to look at the significant low to the significant high. You can get a lot of noise here where this is real tight. You're going to just get a little back and forth bump. You can see that area is consolidation in here between the 12:08 and the 12:20 period. We're looking for a high around 12:26, 12:28. Here is the 12:28 bar right here, which is the high right there, and we've got a short push down. We're expecting the low to come at 1233, and that is the 1232 bar. The 1233 area is right here. The low comes on the next bar, which is the 1240 bar. So we've got that high there, and we're looking to go down from there. So we're coming to here. The 1233 bar is only 5 minutes away from that high. So we're really only looking at a little bit of a bar plus a minute on the 4-minute chart. So what happens at the 233 mark, we get just a very minor push up, and then it reverses back down to the 1240 frame, which is actually at our next pivot before the market reverses. So we get a move down off of that area, that high right there at the 28 level. We get 4 bars down, so we push right through this pivot, continue to 1240, and that's kind of how it goes sometimes when these pivots are so tight. We've got to give the market a little more time to make a swing than just the 5 minutes that we had from here, from 1227.28 down to 1232. So that basically is it. I'm gonna, since we bottom at 1240, I would ignore the noise here at the 1250 bar. Again, that one is tight to the 0 line. If you look at where 1250 is on the trading bar, we had the high at 1252, and then it started to move down and then come up, make a little bit of a double tap, and you can see we're doing that little double tapping form here, or at least an up and a down and a back up. Now we've got to go look at the 1 o'clock frame to look to see what we're supposed to get here. Okay, here I've expanded the window and plugged in the 1300 hours. So now we're here at 1300 to 1500. So we're looking at the last 2-hour block here. Remember, we were topping out here on the prior chart around the 1252 to 1256 area. We peaked out here, and now we're heading down. Our first potential pivot is at 1310. Again, we're only 2.5 bars off where we made the high. So 1308, 1312 bar is right here, right next to that low. We're going to get a push back up to like 1318. 1318 is right here. The 1320 bar is a minor high. And now we're getting this chop area in here all the way until we make this peak here at 1355. And you can see the market chops in that area just as well. So after we got the one high there we were looking for at 18 to 20, we go into the sideways activity, and the market bottoms at 48.52. And that was on this minor low here. But when we've got these this kind of activity back and forth right around the 0 line, this is a good place to kind of ignore that, because you're kind of into that choppy area. So you really want to be looking at this 1355 area for the next pivot. So we've got the 1356 bar is right here, and we get the high on the 2 o'clock bar. So we get the high on the very next bar. And what happened, that actually pushed through, and the actual high was at the time of the low here at 1359. So again, what happens when you've got these bars so close, you've got a 55 and a 59, that's basically one 4-minute bar. So depending on what the market's doing in that section, right here, the market's trading up. So if it trades through 55, you'd be looking at 59, 2 o'clock, and that's what happened. It traded from the 56 bar up. The bar closed at 2 o'clock, and then we got that little push down. And then the next two pivots, it's going to be doing a little flop around here. We're at 1409, and what happened? We got two little bars down. We bottomed out on the 04 bar, and then we started up on the 08 bar, and that went to 20, and we had the this high here is at 20. Again, this is a little tricky with the noise. So the 1420 time here is the time of the high right there, and that's going to push down. We're looking at 2836 area, and that bar pushes down right to the 36, where it actually makes the closing low and then flips back up. So just trying to slowly talk my way through this to kind of show how to read this chart. You can actually draw these lines out on your price chart with your trend line tool, so you're just looking at them on your chart if you don't want to look at any indicator panel below. Or if you're just using the Excel sheet, if you don't use Ninja, you can just draw the trend lines on the chart. But hopefully the way I talk through looking at these points and how the price action moves with or through these points and then goes to the next point. So if it does move through a pivot, it'll go to the next pivot in reverse. So we can't know polarity in advance, but we know where the turning points are going to come, and just by following the tool the way I've described here is you're viewing the price action, you're going to get what you want to get out of that. So I don't really prepare these in advance, when I do these videos. I'm just kind of talking my way through this. So hopefully you were able to understand what I was looking to convey here.